I have a feeling that Yurili Bonnie is one of the next characters that is going to show us an awakening. And now that we are finally getting focused on her, why not talk about her fruit? And by doing that, we can discover its name, present abilities, future capabilities, and its awakening. Okay, so what did we know about Yurili Bonnie's fruit before? All we knew was that she was able to change the age of herself and other living beings. We didn't know if there was a limit, we didn't know if it was permanent, and we did not know if she can do this on non-living things. But now that we are an egghead, what is the new information that we have been able to receive? One of the things that we now know is that the user is able to access a distorted future. This information alone could make us spend the entire video touching upon this theme. But for the sake of this video, let's make things quick and simple. So in chapter 1072, Bonnie shows us that she's capable of distorting the future and choosing the one where she gains super strength. So how is she capable of doing this? We still don't know for sure, but the most likely explanation is that she accesses a future in which she is specialized in training her physical strength. And just by knowing this one capability of this fruit makes it already be at the top when it comes to versatility. Because all she has to do is access a future that is convenient in the moment for her. Quick examples, she can access a future in which she is faster, she can access a future in which she is smarter, and etc. And there's a couple of other options that will make this ability even more broken than it already is. For example, the other options would be something like, can she access a future in which she's a hockey master and has advanced type of observation and armament hockey? Can she access a future where she has all of the 6 powers from CP0? Can she access a future where she has Fishman Karate, where she has the best swordsman skills? And you can see where I'm going. Can she access a future where she's awakened? We will have to wait and see, but these are still things that she should be capable of doing. Now the second thing we know is that her fruit has a time limit on living beings. And this limitation is pretty great all around because now we don't have to worry about characters being permanently changed. But we also still keep the effectiveness of the fruit, because at the end of the day, if a character gets hit by this ability and there's nobody around that is able to save him, they have automatically lose the fight. And the difficult thing to note here is the thing about breaking out of a Devil Fruit's power with Haki. It's difficult to say if it would actually work, because let's make it an example. Because there's a big difference in breaking out of a fruit's power that is only able to inflict you with physical effects compared to a fruit that is able to affect you physically and mentally as well. Because when you have a fruit that is literally able to de-age you to a point where you're physically incapable and to a certain degree mentally incapable as well, how will a character be able to manifest their willpower in the form of Haki in this state? I mean, it pretty much sounds like it is one of the only abilities that cannot be countered by Haki after it has already been applied. This pretty much obligates her opponents to have their armament Haki on point throughout most of the fight. And the other meaning of this limitation is that a character cannot be changed permanently into their prime. But that is absolutely fine for me, because the fact that there's still a possibility that we are able to see a prime Garp or prime Rayleigh in the story is good enough for me. So the third thing we know is that she's able to extend the range of her abilities by using objects. And again, that brings a lot more versatility to her fruit than we expected. But now the real question here is, to what extent is this a possibility? Does she permanently have to touch the object to be able to afflict her ability? Or can we extend these possibilities and end up saying that, hey, coded projectiles might be a possibility here? That conversation will come back around, but now let's move on to the last thing we know. And the last thing we know of is actually one of the most important effects of this fruit, and that is being able to age non-living things. And I would like to point out real quick that this was the type of awakening I had in mind before we knew all of this from Bonnie. But the fact that this seems like a normal effect of her fruit opens up a lot of possibilities. So now let's talk a little bit about the effects of being able to age and de-age non-living things. And one of the things we have seen her do already is aging something to the point that it breaks. And so if we take this to the extreme, right, the magnitude of things she can accomplish are disgustingly broken. These things can take a higher level of stamina or skill, or might even take away some of the person's life force, or can maybe even be connected to awakening. But nonetheless, if we think that her fruit is the age fruit, all of these things should be things that she should be capable of doing. So now let's talk about the extremes of the aging up effect of her fruit. When I think about aging up non-living things, I first think about the surroundings of the character. Now let's take for example an island. Now what do we think would happen if a character focuses all of their attention in aging up this island for multiple hundreds of years? This island will end up breaking apart and most likely sinking into the sea. And if we go to the extremes of de-aging non-living things, you can even get the same results by de-aging the island to the point where it's not stable. And if we go further with the capabilities of this fruit, there is the possibility that she's able to restore something that has already been destroyed, and maybe even age things up to the point where they become dust. And I do understand that this can sound a bit much, but hear me out a little bit, that there's going to be a few limitations to this. So I believe that she's able to restore anything back as long as the material is still physically there. So pretty much what I'm saying is that she is not able to restore things into existence. And the same applies for aging things up as well, because she is still able to age up things to dust because that is still a material that physically exists. But the limitation for that would be that it will take her a long time to be able to pull that off. It will be something similar like the Marine from Enies Lobby we saw that rusted Zoro's swords and also is rusting Zoro as well. And now to finally complete the video, I will be talking about the name of the fruit, possible abilities that Julie Bonnie will use in the future, and also the awakening of the fruit. So, what do we think would happen if Julie Bonnie distorted the future of an object? For example, what if she distorts the future of a piece of metal in which it converts into a sword? Wouldn't that literally mean that she is able to create things? And that would pretty much be like having an entirely different fruit that centers around creation. It may even be the case that she's using one of the capabilities of her fruit. And that wouldn't be the first time that we have already seen something like this. But for this case, I will save this idea for another video because there's a lot that can be touched upon this idea. So let's go with the more simple route in this case, and let's say that it's the age fruit. I would have also said the time fruit as an option if a certain character didn't have it already. But now let's move on to the abilities I have in mind. A very fascinating idea that came to my mind was something like a timely aura. Anytime an object comes in contact with this aura, it will automatically be aged up to the point where it becomes dust, or it will get de-aged to the point where it has no offense. And talking about awakenings, there's two options that come to mind. One of them is being able to age things back to existence. That meaning that she's able to restore anything even if it's not 100% physically there. The second one could be being able to permanently age living things. This is not my personal choice, but it's still an option that could happen. But the one that I decided, and I think it's the one that makes the most sense as well, and that's being able to expand her ability in the environment itself, something similar to Law's rooms, and anything that's inside the area can have their age manipulated. The second capability will be being able to code objects and manipulate their age even when she's not physically touching them anymore. And another thing to add on is when the object has contacted something else, it will spread the properties of her powers. And for a better understanding, let's use a random weapon, such as a pistol. And now this will pretty much be working the same way as her foot always works, but now she has range. If an enemy ship is approaching them, all she has to do is shoot a bullet towards the ship, and the whole ship will age to the point of destruction. And if you can tell already, I wouldn't be surprised if Julie Bonnie ends up getting a weapon in the near future. And that's if she actually needs a weapon, because if you really think about what I said earlier, if she learns Rokushiki and starts using finger pistol or Rankyakus, coded with her ability, I mean, come on, bro. But yeah, let's start completing the video by ending off with some few quick questions. So what do we think would happen if Yuru Libani distorts the future of a non-fruit user and gives them a fruit that is not in use? Would they be able to use it or not at all? And if you believe that they would be able to use the fruit, what do you think would happen with a character that already has one? And if the answers you have are totally different than these, let me know in the comments, feel free. And that being said, thank you for watching and be prepared for next video coming soon. I will be very glad to have you join my journey while we accomplish greatness.
말로 설명 못해 이 감정은 더욱더 이야긴 참 길고 설명이 더